Welcome back. Let's bring in our political commentator Colin James, who's in Christchurch this weekend. Hello, Colin.
Good morning, Rachel.
So, Hone Harawira, what was your take on that interview there, Colin? He says he's a politician. He also says he's an activist. Can he be both?
Well, activists are politicians, and normally, however, politicians outside Parliament. Activists can change things over time. If you get enough people behind you, you change things. And a really good example of that were the activists who got the Lake Manapuri stopped that getting raised 40 years ago. So, yes, you can be, but normally, if you're in Parliament, it's a different sort of politics. It's a politics of compromise, of working to get things done, getting the government to do things differently, rather than just to say the right things.
When the Mana Party was first set up, Colin, there was some debate as to whether it would split the Māori vote, and certainly Hone Harawira has distanced himself from the Māori Party. Do you think it's essentially split the vote?
Well, it did split the vote in the 2011 election. The total Māori vote, if you take Mana and Māori together, was the same as the Māori vote in 2008, very close. So it did split the vote. The problem that the Māori Party has is representing two dimensions of Māoridom, and Hone brought that out very well. The iwi leaders, the top iwi leaders, who tend to align with national. They feel comfortable with John Key, they feel comfortable with Chris Finlayson. And the bulk of the Māori electorates, Māori voters, who are not well off, tend to fit in the socio-economic strata that normally back Labour. And the Māori Party has been paddling these two waka, and these two waka often diverge. And that's a problem. Now, Hone is very definitely on one waka.
Indeed. Let's look at the ETS too, Colin, because we've been discussing this earlier this morning in the programme. If you consider that the government's goal is chiefly economic growth, does that at some level make sense of what they're attempting to do here with the ETS?
Look, can I just say one thing more about the Māori Party?
Sure.
It's stuck in there with the government. It says it can get some things done, and whanaua is one of them. So it takes the hits on one side in order to get some hits of its own on the other. So that's the other dimension of working within the parliamentary system. On the ETS, sorry, what was your question again?
That essentially the government's goal is, economic growth. That's crucial to its policy here. So does that in some way make sense of what it's trying to do with the ETS and leaving agriculture out of it?
Yes, it does. Its primary goal, and it's made this very clear this year, is GDP growth. The ETS, as it's been changed, and it's been radically changed, is to fit within that notion of GDP growth. And where they've gone with the green element of that is to say, let's green GDP growth rather than do something dramatic and radical. And yes, that's where the ETS fits, and that's why people who want emissions reduced, and the ETS on its current frame won't do that, are getting very upset. And the Parliamentary Commissioner has made that point pretty bluntly, I think.
I guess, but outside of all of this and outside of the domestic issues, there is still the issue of how we position ourselves as a country internationally on the issue of climate change.
Well, yes, and William Ralston brought this out. He said it's the market that should rule. Well, yes, the market will rule. And one of the dimensions in the market is what the multinational food companies do, and multinational fibre companies, furniture companies and so on do to New Zealand agriculture and forestry exports. And the danger in that is that over time they're going to demand the carbon footprint, the water footprint, the environmental footprint are going to become part of their branding. And if the New Zealand brand slips off that pace in the trade sense, we lose. Now, there's another sense in which we could lose as well, and this is where Terence O'Brien's comments will come in, I think, and that is in our country reputation. We've got no big army, so we've got no real leverage in the world, but we do have more influence than we deserve as a small country because we're an honest broker. We aren't aligned, we don't run the American line, we don't run the Chinese line, we're out there and neutral, and we also do more than our fair share, for instance, in peacekeeping. And some of the wording, some of the comments that are coming back from the UN are that New Zealand is beginning to be thought not to be doing more than its share or even its share in climate change through the ETS, and it's a country reputational issue which at some point we might want to address.
Okay, Colin James, appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.